have a massive family of 8? Well, Mahindra might have the answer for you, but seriously, have you considered a hobby? Hi guys, Eric here and welcome back to my channel. Today we will be having a look at this 2017 Mahindra Scorpio 2.2 M-Hawk S10 4x4 8-seat. As the name suggests, this car can carry 8 people, but don't be fooled by that. For the rear bench at least, it's best suited for very small children, or for safety reasons at least, no one at all. Would you like to be mentioned in my next video? All you have to do is to make sure that you're subscribed to my channel and tell me what car this wheel design belongs to using the comment section below. Be sure to identify both the make and model. Let's see who knows most about cars. A really big thank you to the accommodating, thoughtful and helpful staff here at ASJ Motors. They have a huge selection of quality used cars located in 2 locations in the Overberg region. One is in the industrial area of Hermanus, the other is located on the main road of Verliesdorp. They are open for business, so be sure to check out their catalogue, link in the description box below. The Scorpio is a body-on-frame constructed commercial vehicle by Indian manufacturer Mahindra & Mahindra. It is available as a single cab and double cab bakkie as well as an 8-seater SUV. Think of the SUV as the Fortuner for Mahindra. The Scorpio began production all the way back in 2002. Interestingly, it is still technically in its first generation. It has been facelifted 3 times though. The first facelift was released in 2006, which included a new automatic transmission. The second facelift arrived in 2009. It included a new bonnet, new bumpers, and increased power and torque figures. This is the third facelift of the Scorpio, which was released internationally in 2014. The design remained relatively unchanged still, only modernized. This Scorpio is powered by a 2.2 direct injected turbo diesel engine. It is a very refined unit that puts out a rather low 88 kilowatts and 280 newton meters of torque, meaning that when it is fully occupied, you better not be in a hurry. When it comes to the Scorpio's looks, I must commend Mahindra for following their own design path. It looks very different from almost all other cars on our roads. It has to get props for that. That being said, I wouldn't call it beautiful. Particularly at the rear, I'm happy to see that they removed those massive reflectors that were placed on either side of the rear windscreen, but the light clusters make it look dated. It also seems a bit over-designed. In profile, it is very pleasant, if a bit boxy and derivative, while the front end looks similarly dated, probably because of the small grille and huge light clusters. I'm not trying to be hard on the Scorpio, it was never designed to win beauty contests. What is the interior like though? Step inside and you're greeted with a cabin that is in a league of its own. It definitely takes some inspiration from older car models though, particularly the Jeep Wrangler, although this one might not be quite as well built. Build quality isn't terrible, but it isn't awe-inspiring either. The center console in particular feels a bit loose. Fit and finish isn't that good. Inconsistent panel gaps can be found throughout the cabin, and there are some glaring trim issues in this particular model. Use of materials is about what you would expect from a car in this class, which shouldn't be a lot. Hard and scratchy plastic seems to be the order of the day, although I must admit, I really like the texture of the light grey plastics. It's nice and soft to the touch. In fact, it reminds me a lot of those found on some older Jeeps. What the Scorpio lacks in build quality, it helps to make up for in color scheme. This black on light beige works surprisingly well, although the silver trim that accompanies it does clash with the latter. There's a great sense of airiness in here though. Let's take a closer look, starting with the door panel. Well, it is about as basic as they come. You get a silver trim piece, you get a small door pocket, a fabric insert, and a speaker cover. The door handle is made out of unpainted black plastics, and the window switches feel truly cheap. One thing I do like is this elastic strap found by the door pocket to help keep things in place. On the other hand though, the doors feel a bit too light in the operation, and the sound they make when you close them doesn't exactly inspire confidence. The steering wheel gives you everything you might need and absolutely nothing more, which means you get audio controls, you get cruise control and brake adjustment in the steering wheel, but you don't get reach adjustment, nor do you get any upmarket touches or even a leather-wrapped rim. It must be said though, this polyurethane rim feels quite nice to the touch. The stalks feel surprisingly premium as well, although the steering wheel itself does block some of it, limiting the ergonomics of it. Turning to the dials, I find them really comical. This must be the smallest instrument cluster I have come across. Surprisingly though, it doesn't seem uncluttered and it is very easy to read the digits. In between the two dials, you will find a very small blackout LCD drives information display. It houses trip A and B information, a digital fuel and water temperature gauge, and the total distance traveled. Where's the comprehensive trip computer, you might ask? That is found in the infotainment system. Speaking of which, well, the graphics is dim and the screen is a bit too pixelated. Also, the screen is angled slightly downwards, limiting visibility. On the other hand, it is intuitive to use, it is surprisingly responsive to my touch, and loading times are almost non-existent. That's quite impressive. It comes well equipped too. Bluetooth audio, USB input, auxiliary port, and a CD player all come as standard. The 4-speaker sound system though really does leave something to be desired, and that is me being kind. The climate controls are really easy to understand. Two dials control the temperature and fan speed respectively. I like this because you don't really have to take your eyes off the road for too long to operate them. On the other hand, if you'd like to change the air placement, that is controlled using very similarly sized and shaped buttons. Honestly, I don't understand why all manufacturers don't just use 3 dials. Why reinvent the wheel? Turning to the seats, yeah, they aren't the best. They are on the firm side, yet at the same time don't provide a lot of support. My lower back is forced to be left to its own devices, and that is just never a good thing. The driver's seat is adjustable for height though, which aids finding a comfortable driving position, and both seats have their own armrest, which is a neat touch. With the design dealt with, let's talk about the Scorpio's practicality, starting with storage solutions. Well, I wouldn't call it good. The undampened glove box is of an acceptable size and you get these 2 square cup holders, but the door pockets are just too small, and even though you get coin compartments integrated into the door's grab handle, you don't have any other storage solutions up front at all. Mahindra, that's just not good. Get in the back though, and the Scorpio tries to make amends. Knee room might not be class leading, but fit room is very good and headroom is excellent. You also have great under thigh support, which I find quite surprising because this is a body-on-frame constructed off-roader. The rear seats can slide forward and back and even recline as well. Storage-wise, you get small but deep door pockets, a tiny protrusion that could work as a small smartphone holder, 2 cup holders that won't work because they're placed at an angle, and a single pocket found behind the passenger seat. That's not great, but it's not terrible either. One thing I really do love is that you get your own air vent, something that is essential for a hot summer climate. As you can see though, the 3rd row is definitely best suited for small children, or preferably nobody at all. That's because the rearmost part of a car is usually the unsafest. It's really cramped back here and you sit far too upright. You do get your own armrest though, which I find quite neat, and these windows pop out. Speaking of which, it's quite light and airy back here, something that isn't necessarily true for some of its rivals. Regardless, I do not want to sit back here for another second, so let's talk about the boot. Well, with the 3rd row in place, it is almost non-existent. Even with the rear bench folded down or away, it isn't the biggest boot ever. The rear bench can fold flat too, but it's quite fiddly to do so. To be honest, I would just remove the third row entirely and stick with that nice amount of space without it. It's also worth mentioning that there aren't any special touches back here. No tethering hooks, no grocery hooks, no 12-volt socket. It is merely a space. That being said, that will not be a deal breaker for most people. Space is exactly what a boot needs. So far, so mediocre. What is the driving experience like though? Starting with driving around town, the Scorpio performs surprisingly well. All the controls are nice and light, and all-round visibility is very good thanks to these massive windows. The diesel engine is very refined for a bucky mill, and the clutch feels progressive. That being said, the turning circle isn't exactly the tightest. Also, while you do get rear park distance control as standard, you don't get a reversing camera. Combine that with the Scorpio's sheer size and you end up with a vehicle that can be quite tricky to park. Out on the twisties, and the Scorpio performs about as well as you would expect considering its body-on-frame construction. Body roll is quite prevalent and the steering feels a bit too numb. You never feel unsafe, but it's best to approach high-speed corners with just a dash of caution. Out on the open road, and the Scorpio does alright. Road noise and tire roar is surprisingly well muted, but because of the Scorpio's boxy design, wind noise makes an appearance and it is quite intrusive, particularly by the door mirrors. The engine drone can be heard in the background as well, but it's worth mentioning that none of these aforementioned noises are by any means unacceptable. The suspension is on the firm side, but that is true for most of its rivals. The problem I have with the Scorpio has to do with the seats. They really don't feel very supportive, and I don't see that improving over longer distances. The standard fit sound system also struggles to drown out any unwanted noise. For the price though, I was expecting worse. When it comes to reliability, the Mahindra seems to be a solid offering. There have been reports of trouble selecting 4-wheel and 2-wheel drive, the gearbox can sometimes give issues, and the handbrake cable can sometimes snap. It is very important to remember though to get one with a full service history and one that has been well taken care of. It is worth noting that Mahindra is not a safe car though. It scored a minimum of 0 stars from Global NCAP, so that is definitely something to keep in mind. When it comes to the Scorpio's rivals, you will battle to find anything remotely as capable off-road or practical at this price point. There is the Hyundai Creta, which is much smaller, less practical and less capable than the Mahindra, but it drives a lot better and it is much safer. If you want something as big as the Scorpio, you will have to pay double the price of a new one to get a Fortuner or Everest, or find one in the used market with a lot more kilometers on the clock. The Fortuner and Everest are more comfortable, safer and more powerful, but you definitely pay extra for that. Okay, there is definitely a market for the Scorpio in South Africa. It offers excellent versatility and practicality at a price that not even the Chinese can match. This is great when you consider this amazing engine. Don't be fooled though, you get what you pay for. Build quality isn't great, safety isn't great, and this is basically the same car you got in 2006. Good value, the Scorpio is not, but it offers South Africans something a lot of people want, and more importantly, can afford. Well done, Mahindra. Thank you so much for watching another one of my videos. If you enjoyed this review, please remember to give it a thumbs up. It makes such a big difference to my channel. If you haven't already, please subscribe and you'll get notifications of upcoming reviews. I have loads more coming up for you guys, so stay tuned. If you own a Scorpio and you would like to share your experience with me, please use the comment section below. I would love to hear your experiences. I hope you guys have a fantastic day. Until next time, bye.